A very warm welcome here at 5 Things I Learned from Chess About Strategy. My name is Hannelie Venucia and I'm from the Possibility Gap and the Joy Generation. Thank you for joining me here for a game of chess. But before we start that, I'd like to invite you to join me on a little journey into the African savannah. And we're going to find ourselves at the waterhole, and it's very hot and humid. And soon we are joined by a whole herd of wildebeest, also called gnu. And far in the distance, another creature waits. Invisible, silent, very hungry, hasn't eaten for days. Yet it waits patiently because it's completely aware of what's about to transpire in front of our eyes. And then it happens. 2 alpha males begin to fight. And soon the whole herd is confused, lost, and scattered across the plain. And that's a big problem. Why? Together they are extremely strong and powerful against any predator. They've got lethal horns, but on their own, they are vulnerable, especially the weak, the old, and the young. And lion knows this, so it's waiting for this to happen. So it casually gets up, strolls across the plain, and easily finds its lunch, effortlessly. That happens to us in strategy implementations as well. We are so focused on having the competitive edge, outsmarting the competition, winning, being the best this and the best that we completely forget to play the game well. And the same happens in chess. It's about playing the game well. It's about implementing our game plan and adjusting it and aligning it and repositioning and regrouping ourselves all the time as the game goes on. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware of what the other players in the market is doing and who they are and what they're about. But focusing on them is a distraction. And this idyllic idea of having that competitive edge, because that's really one of those things that you could say is relative. So why focus on that? Rather focus on playing the game well, like in chess. And then our situational awareness is completely available to us because we can be completely, and like in chess, fully present to the game. Focused, calm, relaxed, composed, no matter what happens. Otherwise, our playmate, not our component, our playmate, because we're co-creating this game together, without a playmate, I can't play chess. It's really boring. They could read our body language and what we're up to. We're not staying composed, but it means we're present, so there's presence. Instead, we can set the tone for the game. So we have this incredible game plan. Like in Queen's Gambit, we can see it play out through strategic envisioning, different variations of it, and we can enact whenever needed. We don't need the pills, by the way, but we can see it happen. And what we put our attention on, like we learn in quantum physics, we bring it into reality. So we're imprinting it on the game. So we are actually in charge, so to speak, but it's not about winning. If I put you into chess mate within 3 moves, there's no fun in it. There's no satisfaction, no fulfillment. But what do I have to work with is really incredible. And if you read one of our recent blogs on LinkedIn and Medium called Double Up, Expand Impact, turning DEA, as in diversity, equality, and inclusion, on its head, we shared a lot of very interesting statistics about the game chess. That can even boggle the mind. Why? Because if you think of it, it's a game board with 32 darker and 32 lighter squares. 2 players, 16 pieces each having their own function and way of moving across the board. Yet, what's next is really incredible. In a game of chess, there are more possibilities, iterations possible than all the atoms in our observable universe together. Really, yes. After 3 moves, only 3 moves, we have access to 9 million variations. And after 4 moves each, to 888 billion possible positions. Isn't that incredible? Why is that important in terms of strategy, like it's in chess? Because in strategy we have access to exactly and even more iterations, possibilities. But we get stuck on a linear from A to B way of thinking, not multi-directional, and accessing all these possibilities. And as our game plan moves and play with what's going on in the game, because it plays too, it has its own intelligence, to bring in some of those iterations. We're not stuck. It's like when we play soccer, the neural paths in our brain works like this. Now this, then that, then now this, then that. Because we rapidly have to change. We need the same in the game of strategy, like in chess. We cannot afford to have a linear way of thinking like we would need for somebody who's playing the piano. Same neural path, deeper and deeper. Over and over, that we can really perfect and master that specific melody. But it's over and over the same thing. Where if in strategy, we cannot think that way. There's so much we cannot control. We cannot control what the other players are going to do, how the world is changing. Like in chess, we cannot predict it, but we can feel into it. We can read the pattern. We can read their body language. Likewise, they can do the same with us. And then we can easily realign, regroup, and adapt ourselves. That's where our adaptive intelligence comes in. And that's what we need in implementing our strategies too, so that we can play that game very well and anticipate. So we're always like 2-3 steps ahead already of what's going to happen, that we can bring in like all those iterations whenever we need some of them. But our game plan runs through because we're setting the tone as a golden thread. So it's not even a case of attacking the other or playing defensive. It's not about that at all. There's so much joy in it when we are able to catalyze something in somebody else. And we are co-creating this thing together. So there's this dance going on. And the same happens with our strategy implementations. There's this dance going on. And we do not create it all alone. We co-create it with the whole world and life itself to bring it into being. And we have so much available to us. And like in Queen's Gambit, in chess, we conceptualize. So our conceptualization skills are really extraordinary. And we need that in strategy envisioning too, to really explore all these possibilities. And then to be able to contextualize in terms of the game. So bring it down into the game. So into the practical part of our strategy implementations. So bring the vision together with the practical doing part, so to speak. And we do exactly the same in chess. But there's something else that's really fascinating in the game of chess. It's usually a very intellectual, mental cognitive experience of, especially during the envisioning part, of analytical analysis of the SWOT. Yet in chess, there's no logic to the game. Yet people immediately associate chess when you say the word strategy from a visual point of view. Yet chess is not in it. There's nothing logical about the next move. It happens fluidly. So your fluid thinking happens. It's a whole body experience, body, mind, heart, and soul. And it's very kinesthetic, tactile, audible, and visual. There's no logic to it, and very creative thinking and critical thinking involved. Yet in strategy, we only engage one part of ourselves. It's not a full body experience, so to speak. And because it's a tactile and kinesthetic experience, which dancers and athletes and gymnasts have been using for ages, you can physically feel where the game is moving towards. And then it's a matter of flowing with that. And you're directing it, so to speak, but you don't control it. We cannot control it. And in the book called The Dance of Change, they speak about strategic questioning. It's like panning for gold. And we don't know where the gold, we're going to find it. So we have this broader landscape. But what helps us to find it is all our experiences, all our abilities, and all our instincts, which we use in chess all the time, our gut instincts, so the brain in our gut. We use it all the time. But we hardly ever use that when we do strategic envisioning or during strategic intervention. We don't engage those parts. It's very mental. And what they also talk about is staying curious all the time. And we do the same in chess. You have to stay curious all the time of what's going to happen next. And you have to be able to let go of what was and what's out of sync for what's about to emerge and unfold. And like they say in the book, you need to care about panning gold. So in terms of strategy, you need to really care about implementing our visions, goals, objectives, and intentions in a fulfilling, successful way where there's a sense of well-being for all involved. That it comes together in the end. And for that, we really need to care. And we also need to create that anticipation. Playing chess is really a very revitalizing experience. It's not only a mental experience like many believe. There's so much going on all the time. And we're sitting on the tip of our chair, so to speak. What's going to happen next? What can we bring in those creative thinking abilities, those critical thinking abilities of what we can bring in of all those iterations available? To really make it a juicy game, because it's a spectator game. People love watching others playing chess. What's going to happen next? What is he now doing? What's she now going to do? It's highly invigorating, catalyzing, because those watching, we've discovered that in research a lot, that those watching, they also begin to predict and anticipate what's going to happen and where the game will go and how it will flow. So it's not just about chessmate. It's not a win-lose strategy of being the best this or the best that and outsmarting our competition. It's about playing the game well. And that's what I discovered from learning chess, amongst many other things about strategy. So thank you for joining me here. Next week, I'll be sharing what I discovered from writing futuristic novels about memories of the future. So I hope you will join me then too. Have a wonderful week. Goodbye.